And there we go. We are live doing a pop-up live on company pages. I think this is my second live in my life on a company page. But Kevin, we're doing this because we're in the spirit of experimentation that LinkedIn just did a new feature. And actually, you did a post about it this morning, which kind of prompted this live in the first place. And LinkedIn is now allowing us to have live event clips after the live, but it's only on company pages and not on personal pages, on personal profiles. So Kevin, can you tell us a little bit about this and we'll just start chatting?
That's about as much as I know, because LinkedIn, of course, never shares much, right? You have to kind of discover it. And we do have an incredible group of people that help us find this stuff. And so all we know is that it is possible, right? That you can go in and you can take that entire video. And my understanding is it helps you identify what those clips would be. And from there, you create a post about it, right? Which takes people back to the core video. But I think it's fascinating. I haven't been able to get deeper in, and I knew you'd have the way.
I would. And I want to give a shout out to Brenda Meller, because she's the one that gave the heads up. And Kevin always says it takes a village to stay on top of these features. And so Brenda is the one who captured it in the wild. That's your phrase. So we definitely have to give a shout out to her. And the only thing that I noticed is when I actually went to create the live, that I saw something at the top when I went into the event, and it said live clips will be, there was like some sort of message at the very top of the screen that said, clips would be available after the live. So that's all we know. We'll see what we can do from that, but that's pretty exciting. I love it. I love it.
Absolutely. So you don't have prior lives that you can look at to see from a company page to see if there's the ability to make clips?
Well, I did that yesterday. So as soon as Brenda had kind of, let everybody know in a private chat we're in that this had happened, I said, hey, Brenda, can you do retroactive lives too? Because sometimes LinkedIn does that. They make something new and it kind of flows backwards. I went into my previous live, and to be honest with you, I couldn't even find it. Like I just didn't see where that would be. So now that I've done this, I think it might trigger that I can see this, because when I did my first live, it was before LinkedIn had this new live interface, and I had no posts on my company page, because if you go too long without posting on your company page, LinkedIn says, okay, you're in a timeout.
LinkedIn does like activity, right? Activity, again, is one of those database best practices. The more active you are, the more accurate they think your stuff is. So when you deactivate something like that, not doing lives on a company page, they kind of push it down a little bit. They figure it's not active. And so we always want to keep inputting stuff.
And I wasn't even doing posts. Like I haven't even done tumbleweeds on my company page. Like I have not been doing anything. So this is just a reminder that LinkedIn is probably putting more emphasis on company pages, because that makes sense. And this is a big carrot, to be honest with you. And if anything, I think this actually might be coming from a nudge from Substack, because Substack actually has, I love LinkedIn. I'm never going to leave LinkedIn, but I've been like just testing the waters of Substack, not enough to make me run away and go use that exclusively. But I must say, when you do a live on Substack, it gives you all of these features immediately. You can do clips and still images and all sorts of stuff. And it's amazing. So you literally, and you can even hook up your YouTube channel and push it out to YouTube, the clips and everything. So there's a lot of stuff. So I think LinkedIn is recognizing, they got to get on the ball if they want to keep people. Plus, to be honest with you, lives on company pages don't get a lot of love, which is why people don't do them. We do them on our personal profiles. But if this is, the new what is special about doing lives on company pages, I think this is going to be good. And I'm thinking about companies, Kevin, that could sit here and do a live and, have maybe a panel and different things. And then if they could repurpose that into other clips that could be on the company page and on the personal profiles of the people on the company pages, I think that's a game changer, to be honest.
I absolutely agree. And LinkedIn is really, really promoting kind of the, companies going live. I mean, that's a big piece for them this next coming year is they want to do a lot around it and they want to monetize those lives with companies as well. So how all that works out, I don't know, but it makes sense that they're putting more tools at the reach, right? And I could see that being very valuable in that sense, kind of piecing them up and sending them out to your champions, right? Your company champions, and them reposting that as their own video and, sending it back to, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there. So
Absolutely.
now I
I'm
hope
excited.
it comes down to all lives, right? It should, but we know how product groups are, right? They don't always share the best stuff. They kind of keep it to their own. So I hope that's not this case, because I know live is its own kind of product group category. So hopefully they're the ones designing this and they're the ones who are going to be able to kind of bring it out to anybody doing a live. That would be neat.
That would be very unique. And I think that will get people to continue to do lives. A lot of people have said they feel lives have cut back in total on LinkedIn. There was a time when you used to see a live all the time. They're getting fewer and fewer in between. And again, I think people are like, well, I'll just go over to YouTube if I'm going to do video and lives and stuff like that. And again, here's where Substack is kind of leading the pack right now. Substack allows you to gate your lives. So you can do a live, and Substack actually allows you to have paid subscribers. So you can have newsletters like you have on LinkedIn, but you can actually monetize those and make those paid. So I don't think it'll be long before LinkedIn starts thinking about how can I do that? But you can actually gate a live and say this live is only going to be for my subscribers. Or, and I know for the longest time, a lot of people on LinkedIn who have groups had said, why can't we do lives for our group for a private? If you can have a private group, why can't we have a private live? So, and
I go back to the theory, LinkedIn doesn't want private groups to exist. They allow it because that's kind of where it started and people kind of expect it, but they don't really want it to be successful. And the main reason is it circumvents the whole monetization process. If you're in a group, you could basically communicate with anybody in the group beyond that 3rd degree, right? All the way to the 6th degree.
Right.
You can connect with them, you can communicate with them, you can share with them. And that breaks down the reason, why would I pay for a recruiter? Or why would I pay for Sales Navigator? So people who figured it out, they're using groups that way. They're still using groups that way. And it's always been a smart way to use a group. And it's why I think LinkedIn has always limited what you could do as a group admin, what you can do within a group. It's always coming up new limitations as opposed to new possibilities. And so to me, it would make absolute sense if you could have that kind of private conference, kind of connection, bringing everybody in, within a group, especially if it's a closed door group. But I think that's the reason LinkedIn doesn't build up groups anymore and just kind of lets them exist a little bit.
Yeah. But they're definitely, I wouldn't want to run a LinkedIn group. Let's put it that way. It's like, they don't get a lot of love. People don't, you post, people don't see it. It's really hard to keep that engagement up. And at the end of the day, it ends up, it's a group chat, it's like doing DMs with a group. That seems to work the most, but I don't know so much else.
Yeah, no, I think that's what it's supposed to be right now for LinkedIn. I think that's what they want.
So while we're here, we might as well just keep talking for a couple more minutes.
Yeah.
Kevin, tell us, let's just go through your post today. What were some of the other new features that came out? Because it's just like a lot of stuff and packed into one little post.
There was, and from the one I found that kind of just threw me for a loop was the LinkedIn branding surveys. So kind of
Mm.
like a poll where we get a poll and we get to ask, sometimes it's 4, sometimes some people still have 5 options, right, to vote. But this is a progressive one. So if you were to answer the first poll, then the next thing that happens, it pops up and it's another poll. And so you can dissect down to what you really want to have out of market research. And I think that's really cool. And LinkedIn saw value in that and said, companies will want this, so they'll pay for it. We're not going to give it away free, right? So it's part of an ad campaign. You can buy it in as an ad campaign. I think that's really cool. What caught my eye, because I was traveling at the time, was, out of these 5 airlines, which one do you trust the most?
Mm.
And the answer I gave was probably not the answer that the person paying for the survey wanted, because it ended up saying, "Why don't you like Delta?" It was kind of the last
Ooh.
the last
Ooh.
question. So Delta was probably paying for this kind of progressive survey, and I thought, it's interesting. I actually missed the first screen when I figured out, because the second one popped up. I didn't expect it to, right? So I missed capturing the first screen. I went and captured the 3 that came after that. And Debbie Weems, she came in and she went out and found it, based on kind of a quick search, and got me the first screen at least. So I now can capture that and share that. But it's I think that's fascinating. And I would love to see that actually roll out further, and maybe in the sense of like a boosted post, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah.
do this, it's boosted. It's not an ad campaign, which are a little more complicated and usually a little more expensive. So hopefully they come out with a version for everyone.
So is this just for company pages, or is it for just brands? Like who can
It
actually run
it
these?
is for brands, and right now it's being driven by LinkedIn. So when you see
Okay.
the poll, it's a LinkedIn poll
Mm.
asking about a subject, right?
Mm.
It's a progressive poll, and then the product that comes back gets sent to that whoever sponsored that, right? They get the end results. There's no people involved. There's no members being shown who actually voted for this, that, and the other. They get kind of this I don't know what you would call it, generic output, in the sense of, this is how it all played out. And I do think it's interesting because it does come from LinkedIn. So if you're really polling, you don't want to poll. If you're Delta Airlines, you don't want to poll from your Delta Airlines account,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Because if you get participation, it's going to sway it. So this
Wow.
coming from LinkedIn makes it a neutral source, which I think is interesting too.
So it's real-time market research then.
Yeah.
It's real-time market research on behalf of LinkedIn. It's just that somebody paid for it. So it's like that's a very cool thing. I like that.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
It'd
By the
be
way, can you
interesting to see
boost a poll? Can you, like, if you run a poll by yourself, can
You
you
can't
boost a
boost
poll?
polls. You can't boost polls, which
Okay.
is a shame. So there's
Okay.
certain things you can't boost, and I don't know why they don't let you boost a poll.
Okay.
Maybe because you do have, to a degree, you have a way of collecting a lot of data with a poll,
Mm,
right? You can
mm,
see who voted, what did they vote on, and people are using that as kind of a lead generation tool, right? What's
right.
the most difficult thing you find in being on LinkedIn? Creating my profile, creating content, and then boom, 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 and you look in there and you get it graphically. You can scan that. There's tools that will put that all into an Excel spreadsheet, and then you reach out to the individuals. Oh, I understand you have problems with creating content.
Mm,
I can help
mm,
you, right?
mm,
So I think LinkedIn's kind of keeping that within our own networks, right?
right.
And kind of keeping us from boosting it, just so that we don't kind of, I guess, use it as a complete lead generation tool, which is what it would be.
I love that. I love that. So what are one of the ones that was on your post today was the connected apps. And
Yeah.
that's like hot off the press. I saw the video release from the product development
Mhm,
team
mhm.
yesterday on LinkedIn, and I was like, wow, this is like brand new. So what's that one about, Kevin?
It's interesting that the actual concept came up about a year ago, where they wanted to have us have to be able to show that we have certain skills, and the ratings would come from the product.
Hmm.
And that's really what this is. If you think about it, you're adding the app, And it's not you saying, hey, I know these 5 apps. It's you saying, I use these 5 apps, and here's the apps to tell you my expertise level. So it's third party verification. It's not just a claim anymore. It's kind of proof, which I think is really cool. So this started about a year ago, and I think it fizzled out, and it's come back around as this section you can now add to your profile. I put in Gamma in there. I saw a couple more that I've dealt with, but I don't have a running subscription for them and that kind of stuff. Another one would be HeyGen. We both use that
Yep.
to create
foreign language
right?
videos.
Language, not even translation, but language overlay, to videos, and pretty cool. I might go in and find out if I can actually bring that across. I don't know if I can or not. Well, we'll see.
So
but
where
right
does
now,
does that show up on your profile when you
it
connect
actually
these
has
apps?
its own little section on the profile right below education.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of cool. You can go, you can see it on mine. I've got there, and it's listed Gamma, and it's, little pop up, and you can say Gamma says, I'm not completely an idiot when I use the tool, but I'm close. I've used it a few times. But it does have different levels, and they're supposed to be personalized to a degree, but I think it's more like they probably have 5 versions, right? Somebody who's totally into it, doing stuff that they never even considered, to somebody who just dabbles, like I am dabbling in that over the years. So I think that's kind of how it's played. Now, the thing that concerned me is when I did add that in, you get the pop-up that says that Gamma, or whatever the app is, has some control access to your account, that it can use your email, it can delete posts, it can do, and those are kind of scary thoughts. And I think it's some older language that has kind of moved on. Whenever we connected an app to LinkedIn, you get the same thing if you put calendaring into Calendly, right, into the custom link kind of thing. You get the same kind of warning, and that always concerns me because I don't want anybody to have the ability to edit my own account. And so I'm going to dig a little deeper in there and find out, what does that really mean? So, to me, that's a curiosity. Now, when I went and looked in privacy and settings, and I went to see any programs, apps that control or have access to our account, Gamma wasn't listed.
Okay.
So maybe that's an older pop-up that maybe needs to go away, because it doesn't put them in that kind of form of they have that access to my account. So I'm going to do a little more research there and find out what that is.
Well, and it would be interesting to know, how is it connecting the other way? Because if you're Gamma or Descript or one of the apps, do you know that, like, I'm thinking that they would say, oh, there's like 160 people that are connected to us now on LinkedIn. So I wonder if something's going to show up on their company page, sort of like how you have people associated with a company page. Maybe you'll have connections, people who are connected.
Users, I think that would be smart.
I think it would be very cool. That would be very cool.
I don't think they're there yet, but I think that would be a smart way to kind of parlay some of that momentum, right? We've got 500 or 1,000 or whatever it is, maybe 10,000 people using the app, and you can go back and kind of locate them that way. I'd be interested too, and I'm trying to see if there's a way to search for people who are using apps that are connected, right? I haven't been able to kind of find a connected app, and it may be just too early, right? But I'm looking for that as well.
So do you think this would affect search results? Like if you're connected and somebody was saying, okay, I want somebody who does, LinkedIn profile optimization, et cetera, and somebody who is, good with HubSpot or something like that.
I think it's going to have that end result, right? Because LinkedIn is in the data access business. The more they are assured your data is correct and accurate, the more they can monetize it, right? So search results, absolutely. And especially on like the recruiter or sales navigator side, if you're looking for a particular skill set, there's value in that. So I think it definitely will impact searches for if somebody says I need an expert in Gamma or I need an expert in HeyGen, then I would think that would increase that ranking. Now, it's probably one of 50 other things they're looking at, so it doesn't guarantee you a top spot, but it probably betters your spot than if you didn't have it for that particular search. That makes
I
sense.
love that. I love that. Oh, and by the way, we're actually being seen, which is wonderful.
Oh.
We have Leslie Osborne. I just saw her little comment popped up. Hi, everyone. And she says, this is a very interesting topic. So yay. We always love to shout out the people that join us live, because in my opinion, this is why you go live, is so that you actually, can convert. It's a two-way conversation. It's not always a broadcast. And so we always love this, because if people have any questions, Leslie, we're just talking about some of LinkedIn's newest features. We're testing out one of the features, which is live streaming to company pages and the ability to make clips afterwards. So we'll have to do a little clip and put Leslie in it, just so everybody can see she was our person who came here. So if you have a question about any LinkedIn new features, Leslie, be sure to ask. We're happy to answer those. So Kevin, is there anything else from your art? It wasn't even an article today. It was only a post, but it was a post with like
today,
just five.
Yeah. But the cool thing about it is just 5, but it's now we're at 99, right? New LinkedIn features changes for 2026. So 100 is coming. That's going to be a new part 2, I guess, and go out as a newsletter and all that stuff. So that's kind of exciting. That it's built to that point of, that volume. And I didn't know if this year was going to get there. A lot of things that LinkedIn has been doing has been more so in the sense of larger design, right? Larger changes within LinkedIn.
Right.
So to me, that's interesting. Now, one thing that is kind of a plus and a minus is this whole redesign in our feed, right? So now when we see a post, instead of having 2 separate lines where they used to have your reactions, then you'd have the number of views, and then you would have comments, then you'd have the amount of reposts, which you could click on and see who reposted,
which is nice.
Then you would have the next line with the like, comment, repost, and send. It's all going to be in one skinny line now. So you'll have your views, you'll have the thumbs up if you want to do a reaction, you'll have the box if you want to do a comment, you'll have a comments number, you'll have a reshare, but when you click it, it's for people to actually physically reshare. It doesn't tell you how many people reshared your stuff. And then, so to me, that's kind of interesting. And then you got send to somebody else. And you got reactions on the far end. It's LinkedIn kind of giving a hint of what they think is important, what they think signals value within the post. So that has some insight into it. What I don't like is I like to give people credit when they reshare my post. And in the past, all I had to do is click on that number of reposts, right? And I would see exactly, I'd just scroll down the list and say, oh, I've got to add Mindy Stern, or I've got to add Jillian, or, whoever it was. And then I would go back in and I would thank them very quick. Now I actually have to go to see analytics or view analytics, which is a little space down below on my own post. I have to go there. Then I've got to go in and I've got to scroll down half the page and I've got to find a little item, under the analytics piece that says repost. And I go over to the number, click it, and then it takes me to another page, right? Where then I have to scan through that. So now it's like, 2-3 extra steps to get what I was getting really quickly. And so I've already provided that feedback back to the product group. I missed that, but I might be unique in using that. That's, one of those things they always have to consider. How many people do that? I don't know.
I think a lot of us do it. I think a lot of us do it, and
I
it
do
just
it on
makes
other
sense.
people's posts, right? I want to know who reposted, because that to me is fascinating. So
Now, why do you want to know? Like, I'm going to stop you there. Why do you want to know that? I think that's cool. Why do you want to know that?
Because those are really, really active individuals, right? So if it's a topic you're interested in and they're reposting about it, well, maybe I want to pay attention to them a little bit more, right? Maybe I want to start following them. So to me, it's a kind of an eye into what interests them as well. And so,
Mm.
I think that I'd like to see that on everything.
I like that, Kevin, because you always see things a little bit different than everyone else, and that
Yeah.
is very, very cool. I like that. Oh, Leslie says, "Here's a question, and thank you for asking." Okay, so we're going to go to our question. As a canine consultant, the things I do and offer are quite different from what I see under the search results. Any feedback is appreciated.
In let me, I guess, define that a little better. What does she mean by the search results? Do we know?
Yeah, yeah. So,
Are people not finding you for what you want to be found for? If
mm,
that's the issue, and I think that's what we're thinking of here, then you really need to clarify that. A lot of what we have in our LinkedIn profile is kind of a history of all the things we've done, right? And really, the top half of that profile should be focused on what are you doing today or what do you want to do tomorrow, right? And then refine that. So you still have your history, still has value, but you're getting found for what you're doing now or what you're going to do tomorrow. And that goes into, you want to make sure you're bringing that heavily into the higher end, the front end of your headline, the top of your about section, the bottom of your about section. You want to re-establish that. And then it should be incorporated within really the first experience, the top experience. And the other component of that is I would go to, you could Google it or you could use the AI and say, what are the top 15 keywords somebody would use to find somebody who does this, and tell them what it is and give
mm,
them a definition of what it is, right? And it's going to come back and say, okay, these are the top 15. You want to make sure you're incorporating those into your context, right? So as that content is pulling through, you want to make sure you're using those words, you're bringing them in strategically so that if they're searching with another term, you're going to be found in the right way.
mm.
But I think
That's good.
that's key right now. LinkedIn is searching all our profiles to understand who we are and what we do. And sometimes we're not as clear as we think we are, right? And so another piece, and I've written a bunch of prompts for it, is a profile audit.
Mm.
In there you can take some of the things that are in your data download. You can also PDF your own profile, and you can run that through with a decent prompt that basically says, what are my top 3 signals that my content is producing, or my profile is producing, or my profile and my content, right? And my DMs. What is the signal I'm really sending out there? And it will come back and tell you what that is. And if it's not a match, that's why you're not being picked up in the search process. That's not why you're being found in those results, because you're sending out a different signal.
Mm, that's brilliant. And
Yeah.
maybe we can make a mental note to put that in the comments. Well, we'll put that link to that post that you did about that in the comments,
Mhm.
because I remember doing that audit on my own profile, and I went and did a lot of homework. Like, I did a
Mhm.
lot of optimization and stuff. And that's another thing,
And
you
I
work with people
apologize
to
for
do that.
that, but
No, but that's good. That's good.
didn't
And
really
that's
give you homework.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why people should work with you, Kevin, because it's one thing to have a profile that looks good, but if the profile is not, it's like fishing, it's like if you're not using the right bait, you're not going to get the
Yep.
fish you
Yep.
want, and you can just say, wow, your fishing rod looks really good. It's like you're at the lake, but you're not catching any fish, so it's like sometimes that's why we do want to go work with an expert to just say, okay, I put everything. What am I not doing right here? That's
Mhm.
not drawing the right people, and that can get really, really
And
tricky.
my only caution, if you're using AI, be sure to review it. It's not always
Mm,
correct. AI is a conglomeration of public information, right?
right,
Public's not always right.
right, right,
Some of the
right.
stuff that if you have an expertise area and you go to AI and you ask about that expertise, you will get a good clue on how inaccurate it can be. So,
Right.
that's one of the things I always hold out as a test process, because people believe whatever it produces, and it produces shiny, clean stuff. make sure it's right. Make sure you own it, right? In that sense.
Right. Right. So
And that
she
is
says,
where getting help sometimes comes in because they can see things we don't.
absolutely. Absolutely. So she says the search results for canine consultants list obedience trainers. Plus, my content is very clear and my about section is clear. The number on company pages are growing. And so, obedience trainers, it's like canine consultant is probably that's a really big category.
It is a broad category.
So it's like if you're doing something specific, like you're trying to always help with the rehoming and that sort of thing, Leslie, that's a lot different than an obedience trainer, but you probably fall both under the same big category, correct, Kevin?
Yeah. And yeah, absolutely. And if you're not an obedience trainer, bring that language in. I'm not an obedience trainer. I'm somebody who helps you select the right dog, right? That's what I do. I make sure it matches your personality and your abilities and whatever else. So you can also say what you're not, and that does help keep you out of the sort for that, right? Because somebody's going to be looking for you, and they're going to get a bunch of obedience trainers in there, and they don't want that either. So also tell them what you're not.
Yep. I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Kevin, we've gone 30 minutes. I think it's a great test. Is there anything else you want to add before we kind of end our little pop-up live today? It was fun. It was fun to just pop in here and do this. We need to do this more often.
Everybody was panicking. You can't do an instant live, but with a few minutes you can, right? Doesn't take much more. You still have to go through that process. It can't go completely instant, but what's a few minutes, right? I still had to brush my hair and all that stuff.
I had to
clean up
finish
a
my
little
coffee.
before I could come live anyway. So I needed the few extra minutes.
But it really is so easy. And it's just like, boom, we're done. It is so easy. So, and I think if anything, kind of coming full circle, there are some pretty cool things you can do with lives on your company page that you can't do with your profile. And so this is probably a nudge to me and maybe to other people too, that it's like, if you have the ability to go live, like do this, because now with these event clips at the end, I just think this could be a game changer for companies. And you could, today I had actually posted, so I could have actually shared this event to my profile, but I didn't want to fight with something I had already posted. Kevin had just posted as well. So you don't want to cannibalize your own post. But if it was not on a day I would have posted, I could have shared this and then got a whole slew of people to come over from my personal profile. So there's a lot of things you can do. So I just think LinkedIn's kind of up the game right now with live streaming, and company pages take advantage of it. And I just think this is a cool thing. I love it. Okay, with that, we will say goodbye and we will see you all another time, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jillian.